Thank you for joining The Secret Chord, a weekly exploration of music and spirituality. I'm your host, Adam Jacobs. Hello all, and welcome to this week's edition of The Secret Chord. We have a different direction for you this week, whereas we've really focused on folk and rock musicians for the last number of weeks. It's a pleasure to bring you a jazz artist. And we're featuring a particular a cappella number by a woman named Cassandra Wilson, who I've had the pleasure of listening to for 25 years. She's an American jazz musician, born in 1955 in Jackson, Mississippi. She was the daughter of musicians and was trained both in the classical idiom and also in jazz. And what I love about her music, there's many things, but she has this fantastic, sultry, deep voice, very low for a female voice, which is an unusual feature. And she also can't be pigeonholed so firmly into jazz as the first time I saw her. She played a number called Take the Last Train to Clarksville by the Monkees, which was unexpected. She's somebody who is willing to try new things. I think she's totally original in her idiom, and is just a pleasure to listen to. So the song is called Sankofa. And the Sankofa is a mythical bird which derives from the Akan tribe in Ghana. And the literal translation of the word and of the symbol, which is a bird reaching backwards to collect something, the literal translation is, it's not taboo to fetch what is at risk of being left behind. And so she wrote a song about that, and which I think is just fundamentally deep and interesting. And the word is derived from three words, Sankofa. San means return, ko means go, and fa, look, seek, and take. And as such, the Sankofa symbolizes the Akan people's quest for knowledge, with the implication that the quest is based on critical examination and intelligent and patient investigation. That's a very deep idea for a jazz number, for any song. And I love the fact that there are many songs out there that are deep. We've spoken before how words can only convey so much of a song, and that the notes and the chords can convey much, much more on their own. But it's always a treat when the two things can be combined together. The structure of the song it's very simple in a certain way. There are three verses. It's the exact same words each time. And then there's this sort of coda at the end with almost a little bit of scat singing, with the voices sort of making these very interesting chords at the end. And to give you a feel, let's listen. It's a 2-minute song. Let's listen to it, and then we'll talk more about it. Sankofa by Cassandra Wilson.
Oh, Sankofa, high in the heavens you soar. My soul is soon to follow you back to yesterday's moon. Will it remember me back to yesterday's sun? It will rekindle me, rekindle the spirit into tomorrow, and high on the wind, Sankofa flies again and again. Oh, Sankofa, high in the heavens you soar. My soul is soon to follow you back to yesterday's moon. Will it remember me back to yesterday's sun? it will rekindle me, rekindle the spirit into tomorrow, and high on the wind, Sankofa flies again and again. Oh, Sankofa, high in the heavens you soar. My soul is soon to follow you back to yesterday's moon. Will it remember me back to yesterday's sun? It will rekindle me, rekindle the spirit into tomorrow, and high on the wind, Sankofa flies again and again. Sankofa flies again and again.
So first, I'd just like to highlight the musical elements of this tune. It's 3 voices. I sort of suspect that they're all hers, but I couldn't actually determine that. In simple terms, a high one, a medium one, and a very low one. As I mentioned, it says the same verse 3 times. And the ending is this humming with chords, which happens 6 times. And I find that last part just to be extremely compelling. It has a simplicity to it, but it's also rich. There's a bluesiness to it. It's simple, but unusual. And though she has an earthy sound overall, she also manages to have an airy lightness. And in as much as we're talking about a bird, this is the second podcast I've done about a bird. I love the fact that she is able to do that. You know, a bird being obviously a creature of the air and a creature of the ground. She relies just on the voice. And the voice is an amazing instrument, although truth be told, by and large, I don't love jazz vocals. I know it's heretical to say, but I tend to like jazz instrumentals much better. But I make an exception in this case. I think her vocals are tremendous. I think they add much, much more to the songs and make them just incomparably richer. So in thinking about the human voice, I remembered a quote by Richard Strauss, who said, "The human voice is the most beautiful instrument of all, but it's also the most difficult to play." And in a certain sense, it's possible to hide behind your instrument, be it a violin or a piano or a guitar or whatever, that you can translate your feelings. We've spoken about that already many times, into your instruments, and then the music conveys the feelings within. There's something much more direct about the voice. It's as if it's coming straight, unfiltered from the depths of the soul. And I found a quote online that I liked and thought supported this idea, which says, "The human voice can be thought of as the ultimate melodic instrument because it's capable of instant expression with no instrument required to translate thoughts and feelings into sound. The voice is capable of a huge variety and depth of expressions. With the human voice, thought almost equals sound." I think that's true, and I think that's very cool. And I think that that's why so many people relate to vocalists, and the great vocalists are the ones who are able to translate that most directly and most authentically. So, being that this is a podcast about music and spirituality, I began to think about what is the concept of the voice in spirituality? And there is actually quite a lot to say about this, but the first place that my mind went to was actually from the book of Kings, where Elijah, the prophet, is experiencing a kind of revelation. And I love the description of what he's experiencing, and I will share it with you now. It says, this is in Kings 1, 19, 11 through 13. It says, "Then he said, 'Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord.' And behold, God passed by, and a great and strong wind tore into the mountains and broke the rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice." So this is a critical idea in spirituality in general, which is oftentimes we think that the ultimate spiritual experience will occur within the fireworks, within the big moments. And sometimes that may be true. But oftentimes we overlook finding the true spiritual experience because it's happening on a small scale. It's quiet and still. And sometimes you just have to gently calm your mind and body to hear it. And this is what I took from this idea in Kings, which is Elijah had to go through the experience of the powerful, big earthquake, storm, fire. And then when that had all settled down, he realized he heard the voice, the still small voice. And that's what I love about a cappella music and about the human voice in general is it's another vehicle, a great vehicle to tap directly into the spirituality of the soul. So going back for a second to the basic meaning of the song, Sankofa means it's not taboo to fetch what is at risk of being left behind. We've left quite a lot behind, I would say, especially our most essential selves. What do I mean by that? Spiritually speaking, I mean that we came into this world. Most of us have no idea, of course, how we arrived in this world, but we just sort of woke up here. And then we promptly and completely forgot who we actually are. If it's true, as I assert, that the truth is that we are spiritual beings, souls, essences, whatever you want to call it, functioning within a physical container in a physical dimension, it's much easier to relate to that than it is to that inner part. So it shouldn't be taboo to fetch what's at risk of being left behind, but we do it all the time. We've left behind everything on one level. So do we believe that we're primarily a body or a soul? And what are the benefits of identifying as a soul? Well, I would suggest there's a lot. And that one of the most critical things that we can do in life is to have a change of identification, to go from identifying primarily as a body to starting to identify as a soul with a body, but that the body is just a garment. It's a covering. And I don't expect anyone to take my word for it, and I don't claim that it's a simple matter. I do encourage people to think about it. The truth of the matter is that nowhere in this world, nowhere in cognitive science, nowhere, no one has any idea how physical matter could have become conscious of itself, which is essentially what happened with us. How did that happen? I'm not going to address that right now, but I would encourage people to ask themselves what they think the answer to the question is, because somewhere embedded in there may be a deeper answer than is expected. So what are the benefits of identifying as a soul? I would say, amongst others, patience, reduced fear, delayed gratification, altruism, calmness, and many others. There are fundamental and inherent benefits to looking at the world that way. It happens to be, I also think it's true, but either way, I think that there are benefits. And so, in summary, we need a change of identification, and that it's critical to make an emotional transition from thinking that you're a body with a soul to rather a soul with a body. Right now, we only experience what's called a spark of the soul. We're not really and truly in touch with it. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes patience and dedication, but it also pays the dividends that I'm outlining. The body ideally should be thought of as a garment, something that's easily taken off, which of course would mitigate the fear of death if we thought that the body was just simply a garment. In the same way that we take off our shirt at night and don't think much of it, you toss it on the couch or whatever. If you thought of your body that way and that you're going to get a new shirt in the near future, you wouldn't be so concerned about it. And as Cassandra Wilson says in the 3 times in the song, she says, "Rekindle the spirit into tomorrow and high on the wind. Sankofa flies again and again." So I take that to mean we keep trying until we get it right. She identifies the Sankofa with the soul. She says, "My soul is soon to follow you back to yesterday's moon. It will rekindle me back to yesterday's sun. Rekindle the spirit into tomorrow and high on the wind." And as she says, Sankofa flies again and again. It's my hope that these ideas and the beauty of the art that she created and all these great musicians will not just entertain us, but will spark an interest somewhere deep down to explore, to discover who we are on a deep level, and to open up the willingness to pursue that and to really grow as people. I hope that you've enjoyed this tune and this brief time together, and I look forward to speaking to you again next week with more music and ideas. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to find more content like this, as well as information about live programming, visit us at www.aishny.com. That's www.aishny.com.